Welcome back. In this session, we are trying to understand withholding tax concept. See, we have taxes, two types. One is indirect tax, Another one is direct tax. Indirect tax example is GST. VAT. This is indirectly collected from the customer through sales tax, that is GST or VAT. For this, we already configured the tax pricing procedure. Here we are using tax code based on input and output. Input means purchases, output means sales. Input tax code starting from V0, V1 like this. Here A0, 0% tax, A1 like this. Coming to direct tax, this is charged on income. This is applicable for goods and services. This we already covered. Coming to direct tax, this is a charge on income. Here we are trying to understand withholding tax. What is withholding tax in the context of SAP? We are trying to understand withholding tax. Hope you understand. These topics I am explaining in Indian context. I am considering here Income Tax Act for explaining this withholding tax. We understand what is indirect tax and what is direct tax. Withholding tax from SAP point of view, it is withholding tax. Coming to Income Tax Act, we are calling this as TDS, tax deducted at source. Here I am taking one sample example. What will happen if we don't have this TDS concept? First we will understand without TDS, why TDS concept is added in income tax, that we are going to understand first. See, our company code is 9000. We are operating from rented premises. So for this, we are paying to XYZ vendor amount is 50,000 per month towards rent. So let me take our financial year, that is fiscal year. We are starting from Jan to, since we are using K4, December. So this we are paying rent from Jan to December. All months we are paying. For January month, 50,000. I am dividing this year into quarters, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Feb, 50,000. March, 50,000. So for this is called Q1, quarter 1. For this quarter we paid 1,50,000. 1,50,000 to this vendor. Similarly, Q2, that is starting from April to June, we paid 1,50,000. Q3 and Q4, July, September, 1,50,000. October to December we paid 1,50,000. In total we paid 6 lakhs for all quarters. This is the amount paid to this vendor towards rent. So whenever we are paying, we are posting one entry, rent account debit to bank if it is paid immediately. On every month we are posting for 50,000. This is the entry, 50,000. So we are booking this rent as an expenditure. So total amount received by this vendor is 6 lakhs from 9,000 company code. Here we have income tax department, income tax authority, income tax department. Since income tax is chargeable on income, this vendor supposed to pay tax on this income, rental income. Rental income. Here we don't have any TDS concept. This is without TDS concepts we are understanding. Here we are paying 9,000 company code is paying rent to this vendor. Every month is 50,000, quarterly 1,50,000, per annum we paid 6 lakhs. He didn't file the income tax return. He didn't pay any tax. No tax. No tax paid by XYZ Limited. Because nobody knows about this income. Only XYZ Limited knows. They are getting this 50,000 per month from this company code. So to control tax evasion, he didn't pay any tax on this rental income. So this is purely tax evasion. This is purely tax evasion. So what Income Tax Act did, they added this concept TDS. They said this way, if system is operating like this, if there is no TDS, income tax department doesn't have any information about this taxpayer. The consequences of this not having information about this vendor is department is not receiving any tax. Let me take on this income, XYZ Limited supposed to pay 50,000 tax. Whereas assumption only, he didn't pay the tax. So that is a revenue loss for income tax department. From tax department, tax is revenue for them. So they are losing their revenue. What they did, they added this concept TDS, tax deducted at source. So what they are doing here, with the help of TDS, they are going to have information. They are going to have complete information about the vendor. That is the concept here. With the help of this TDS, they added obligation on the payer. Who is the payer here? Payer is 9,000 company code. They added one section 194I. See, there are many sections. Around 20 plus sections are there dealing with TDS. Here I am referring only section with reference to Indian Income Tax Act to explain this concept. This section deals with these sections are divided based on nature of expenditure. Nature of expenditure. So here what is the nature of this expenditure? This is the rent. 9,000 company code is paying rent to this XYZ Limited. So 194I deals with TDS. They added one section 194I. What 194I says? Any payer of the rent. Here in our case 9,000 company code, we are paying this amount. We are paying this amount to this vendor. As per 194I, before making any payment to the owner of the premises, land or building, deduct 10% TDS. Deduct TDS. So what is the implication of this provision? So 150,000 is rent per month. Out of this you deduct 5,000. That amounts to 10%. Pay only 45,000. To whom? To XYZ Limited. Then what about this 5,000? What about this 5,000? Deposit this 5,000 every month to income tax department through challan. We are going to deposit. So do like this every month. This is mandatory. 194I section is mandatory. If 9,000 company code violates the provisions of 194I, if they are making without deducting the TDS to vendor, they are liable to pay tax. They are liable to pay tax on this 50,000. So this is mandatory. We cannot escape here. See, after depositing this amount to income tax department, you file the returns. How to file the returns? File the returns mentioning who is the recipient of this 5,000. Take this vendor tax details. Take this vendor tax details. You file returns like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. You file like this. In Q1, this is Jan to March. So it will be like this: 50,000 minus 5,000, 45,000. We paid this to vendor. Similarly, we are going to have two more entries here. This is for Jan, Feb, March. Total tax collected for this 3 months is 15,000. On monthly basis, we are depositing this amount to income tax department. Then file the return for 3 months. Why we are filing the returns here? This is also obligations from the income tax department, not only deducting. You deduct and file the return. Both are mandatory. If we fail to file the returns, they will charge interest, they will charge penalty, other penal provisions will attract here. So with the help of this return, department will understand this 5,000 belongs to this vendor, because in return we are going to provide complete information of XYZ Limited. Return will be like this: what is the total amount you are paying towards the rent? 50,000. 5,000 we are deducting as per 194I. We are paying 45,000. So we are going to have PAN number also, permanent account number in Indian context, or TIN tax information number. In Indian context we have PAN only. So complete details of vendor is provided in these returns. This way this department will have complete picture. This complete picture of vendor. Here 9,000 company code is filing returns to income tax department, IT department, mentioning all details of vendors. So once these details are filed with income tax department, they have complete information. Complete information about this vendor. So every month 50,000 is paid by this company. So total income is 6 lakhs. On the 6 lakhs, if I say 10%, 60,000 is deposited by this company, 9,000 towards TDS. So they will ask if XYZ Limited fails to file the return, income tax return, file the tax return, his personal return, XYZ Limited personal income tax return to income tax department, then since department have this complete information with them, they will issue a notice. So that is the main purpose of tax deduct date source concept. This way, tax department having complete information about the incomes of individuals, corporates, so that there won't be any tax evasion. That is the concept here. Hope you understand this concept. Again, 194I section deals with rent. Again, this rent is divided into two parts, 10% and 2%. If it is a building land like this, deduct 10% before making the payment. If it is machinery, plant and machinery, deduct 2% and deposit whatever it may be, whether it is 10 or 2, deposit this to income tax department. So in this context, whenever we are making the entry from FB 70 for rent invoice, this is before TDS. Let me take rent to vendor. I am paying in 2 steps. Vendor to, this is F-53 entry bank before TDS. So once we implement TDS, entries will be like this. From FB 70, rent account debit 50,000 to vendor. Since we are deducting 10%, that comes to 5,000. TDS payable. This will be deposited to income tax department. From F-53, here we have 50,000. Before introducing this TDS, we are making complete payment to vendor. After TDS, vendor account debit 45,000 only to bank. Then what about this TDS? Once month is over, take any month. January month is over. From January 1st to January 31st, due date for depositing this amount is succeeding month 7th of next month. So for Jan it will be Feb 7th. From Feb it will be March 7. Like this. Within this due date, we have to deposit this TDS payable to bank. Here we are depositing this to 5,000 to income tax department. So this is the change. This is before TDS. This is after TDS. Hope you understand. See, there are many sections in TDS dealing with different type of expenditure. Here 194I deals with rent only. 194 IA, IB, IC, 194J. This deals with technical or professional services. See, based on nature of the expenditure, Income Tax Act added the sections there. So here we are discussing 194I. Configurations remain same for all sections. learn the configuration for one section, do the configuration for all section. If you like this course, please don't forget to write a review for the course. Thank you.